So it's not often I post an instant reaction video to a truck or Xfinity series race, but I think tonight's event at the Charlotte Roval, the finish in particular, calls for a special occasion. And this isn't exactly an instant reaction. The race ended like 2 hours ago, but my parents were in town this weekend, so we had dinner plans. Just got back from dinner. My belly is nice and full, and my brain is full of opinions. I warned y'all this week that we were about to witness an Xfinity Series race for the ages. AJ Allmendinger, Shane Van Gisbergen, two of the best road course racers in the business, duking it out on a newly reconfigured Roval with a transfer spot into the round of 8 on the line. Not to mention, Championship 4 favorite Justin Allgaier in the mix. Sam Mayer, great road course racer, in the mix. Parker Kligerman at the very end of his full-time Xfinity Series career, in the mix. This recipe had only the freshest ingredients, and sure enough, in stage 3, it delivered. We'll get to the controversial call in a moment, but I want to start with Shane Van Gisbergen because he was eliminated from the Xfinity Series playoffs, and that's kind of a shame. With a road course in this opening round, I really thought he would at least get to the round of 8. I didn't see SVG as a legit Championship 4 threat, but I wanted to see this storyline continue, and his crew chief's decision to stay out with 13, 14 laps to go on nearly 20 lap tires was certainly a choice. Hindsight is always 20/20, of course. I hate to second guess these kinds of decisions after we've already seen how it's played out, what other drivers ended up doing. I'm sure, who's his crew chief now? I looked it up. Kevin Walter. See, I know his main crew chief stepped away a few weeks back, so this is like a new crew chief. I don't know if he has the interim label or what, but Kevin Walter, I believe, is the crew chief listed on the team roster. If I'm Kevin Walter, if I'm the crew chief in that situation, I want SVG on offense. I'm sure he thought more drivers would consider staying out for track position, but SVG was running, I think, second when the caution came out. He would have restarted 5th or 6th, most likely, with fresh tires. At that point, I would trust Shane Van Gisbergen to get the job done. Instead, you put him on defense. Really difficult to hold off good drivers when they have nearly 20 lap pressure tires. So Shane Van Gisbergen was put on his heels. He did a great job staying 4th for much of that final run, but just did not have the grip that his rivals had and couldn't do anything with them there towards the end. So it's a shame that SVG is out. I want to talk about Parker Kligerman because Parker Kligerman was so impressive there in the final laps. Like I said earlier this week, he won at Mid-Ohio in the Truck Series a couple years ago in the 75 truck, but he's never won an Xfinity Series race. We know he's a good road course racer, but he's never broken through, and he announced his retirement of sorts a few weeks back. He may not have many chances left to get to victory lane. Tonight looked like one of his best opportunities, and he was flawless. Even with Sam Mayer and the great AJ Allmendinger bearing down on him, he barely put a wheel wrong. In fact, Mayer put some aggressive moves on him. Kligerman fought back, held his track position. I was super impressed with Parker Kligerman, what he was able to do in that big machine number 48. It's a shame that the ultimate result didn't go his way. I don't think he made a single obvious mistake tonight. You could argue in overtime when he chose a more defensive line through that turn 7 hairpin. That's what opened the door for Mayer to get a run on him. Sure, in hindsight, that's a mistake, but I have a hard time blaming Parker Kligerman for this loss. I think you just have to chalk it up to circumstances and Sam Mayer putting a really good move on him there in the closing stretch. Some fans are going to say Parker Kligerman had this race stolen from him. I don't agree, but I understand why fans would feel that way. And this is where we're going to talk about the controversy, the main reason I wanted to sit down and do an instant reaction for this Xfinity Series race. NASCAR just cannot get out of their own way. NASCAR race control in particular is just constantly stepping on rakes, smacking themselves in the face. These are unforced errors. 2 laps to go, Leland Honeyman Jr. slams the tire barrier. Like, he's underneath the tire barrier. I've never seen an impact like this in the now 6-7 years of the Charlotte Roval. Insane crash. NASCAR lets it go. The CW, NBC, they've got a camera on the 42 for 5, 10, 15 seconds, no call from NASCAR. They're asleep in the booth. I assumed that they were waiting for the leaders to take the white flag, maybe let them go through a turn or two. I don't know where the 42 was stuck on track. They were going to wait and let the leaders get close to Honeyman before they threw the yellow. That's what I was assuming. I assumed wrong, because then inexplicably race control hits the yellow light right as Kligerman takes the white flag. Like instantly, within a split second of Kligerman taking the white flag, NASCAR decides to put the yellow out. Inexplicable. Again, the moment Kligerman, the leader, takes the white flag, the next flag ends the race. NASCAR waited until he was at the start-finish line to make the call, setting up a replay controversy. They had to slow it down frame by frame. When did the light come on? Is the race official? Do we have to re-rack him for an overtime? Why did NASCAR race control wait until that moment to make the call? They're just opening themselves up for unnecessary controversy. There's a car plowed into the tire barrier, underneath the barrier, massive damage. We don't even know where he is. Like he's gone. He's been sucked into a portal into the underworld. By road course standards, this is a big crash. TV had a camera on him for, again, 10 plus seconds. Why not make the call instantly? Like, that should be a caution. That's why I don't agree with Kligerman getting robbed, because ultimately this should have been a caution. We should have gone to overtime. And unfortunately for Kligerman, he lost to Sam Mayer. My problem is with NASCAR race control's slow response. I saw this post from reporter Bob Pockris. He says, ask NASCAR about the delay in the caution, and apparently that area where Honeyman was underneath the tires is difficult to see from the tower, and that is partly what delayed them throwing the caution. Like, that's not a good enough excuse. Do you guys not have a live NBC CW feed up there? Like, how is it that TV cameras were able to show Leland Honeyman for several seconds, many seconds, before anyone in race control reacted? Like, that's not a good enough excuse. If that's legitimately your excuse, you have to do better. This is professional stock car racing, and in the playoffs, where you've sort of created miniature seasons, like 3 race seasons, every single race, every stage, every lap matters that much more. If this is the format you insist on us having, you need to be at the top of your game. We can't accept race control being this far off. You need to run a much tighter ship. If you don't have a view of where Leland Honeyman crashed, that's not a viable excuse. Have more cameras, have more people. That is on you. It's an unforced error. And I feel there's no real accountability at NASCAR. Sports fans complain about officials in every sport. Angel Hernandez had a job with Major League Baseball for years and years longer than he should have. Scott Foster in the NBA, don't get me started with him. He's had a job probably many years longer than he should have. Is there any accountability at NASCAR? It's always, oh, we're going to aim to do better next time. But do they ever actually do better next time? It doesn't seem so. Again, stepping on rakes, unforced errors. I don't think this should have been a controversial finish. There should have been a caution. We should have gone to overtime. And I'm sorry, Parker Kligerman lost in overtime. Congratulations to Sam Mayer. Sometimes that happens. But the fact that they waited until the moment the leader got to the line to throw the yellow is just, you just can't do that. Not when we're in the playoffs and every race, every lap matters that much more. If you're asking your competitors to be virtually perfect during these mini seasons, race control needs to be close to perfect. And they are so far from perfect, it's not even funny. It's every week a new controversy. Cup Xfinity trucks does not matter. DVP one week, caution lights the next. NASCAR race control has to be held to a higher standard. This Sam Mayer victory has been clouded by a needless controversy due to a terrible in-race decision. That's my take. Very frustrating watch the end of this race, because the racing itself was everything I was expecting it to be and more. It was phenomenal. 3 or 4 guys, all with playoffs on the line, duking it out, one-on-one, every man for themselves, long run, short run to end the race. It was awesome. Unfortunately, my entire social media feed was filled with fans frustrated with the officials. Eric, are you going to rant about the officials? We want to hear your thoughts on the officials. What about my thoughts on the race? What about my thoughts on Sam Mayer pulling off the clutch victory at the Roval to move on to the round of 8? Sam Mayer, who's looking for a Cup Series ride one day. Sam Mayer, who now has 4 road course wins. 4 of his 7 Xfinity wins have come at road courses. Is Sam Mayer like goated at road courses? Can we talk about that? That's not what people want to talk about. People skip this video probably to get to the point where I start ranting about the officials. That's on NASCAR. You can't keep opening yourself up to that kind of criticism. I'm sorry, you just can't. Anyway, I don't know if I missed anything. I hope I covered a good amount of the race, the finish, in addition to the officiating here. Again, kind of an unusual, unorthodox video for me. Instant reaction of sorts, but that's all I've got. Cup race tomorrow, tonight, whenever you're probably watching this on, I think it's on NBC, hoping for a good show, good points battle. We'll see. I'll talk to you Sunday evening in my official weekend recap out of the Groove episode. That's going to do it for this one. Just something a little different. Wanted to at least put my thoughts out there. I had to vent before I slept tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your night, folks. Talk to you again soon.